Well, with injuries aside, of course, the Seahawks roster now set for 2025 with the NFL trade deadline now in our rear view mirror. The Seahawks, of course, one of the most aggressive teams yesterday, acquiring wide receiver Rashid Shaheed from the New Orleans Saints. He is in town today and practicing with the team. Talked about his fit and what the move means and how it might help this offense yesterday after the deal was made. If you haven't checked that out yet, please do. But today I'm going to focus on the financial side of things. We have a much clearer picture now what this roster looks like heading into the offseason and into 2026. I'm going to go over current salary cap space, some of the moves they can make to free up even more salary cap space, and then where the priorities lie. Free agents that they'll want to re-sign and extend, and other free agents that might be out there outside the organization they may want to pursue. And I'm telling you guys, you're going to love what I have to say. The Seahawks, well, let's just say they can do just about anything they want over the next 12 months in regards to their roster and acquiring talent. I'm going to break it all down for you next on Seahawks Forever.
Welcome to the Seahawks Forever podcast. In-depth analysis on everything Seahawks. And now, here's your host, Dan Viens.
Still time to get in on this great deal on the Sleeper app. They're just going to give you $20 free if you want to partake in their games of skill. Don't even have to make a deposit. Sign up today. They give you $20 to get started. If you want to go a little further than that, well, they're going to match your first deposit up to $100, 100% if you use the promo code FOREVER. But outside of that, there are other reasons to get the Sleeper app. You can play fantasy football. You can pick games like we are in our Seahawks Forever Pick'em League. And you can follow along with games in the best real-time play-by-play tracker out there. They are the #1 fastest-growing sports app for a reason. Check out the Sleeper app today. Terms and conditions do apply. All right, guys, welcome back. As I said, Rashid Shaheed in the VMAC today, getting ready to practice, or by the time you watch this, probably has practiced. We're going to hear from Mike McDonald today about the current injury situation. We should have an update on Ernest Jones. I don't have it by the time I record this. If it's significant enough one way or the other, I will react to it in a short video. But I love spreading good news. And when I dug into this project this morning, I knew what it was going to look like generally, but I came away from it feeling even more positive about the 2026 Seahawks and all the things that they can do and might do. It's all out in front of them for 2026, and I'm excited to share it with you. Before that, though, right down there below, that new domain name, NW Forever, that's going to take you to the Patreon page where you'll get all of my content for one low price. And the reason I want to promote that and let you know about it today is because we have something new called the Bracket of Boom over there. It is a monthly tournament where you get to decide a video topic for me to produce. It can be something as small as one question that gives you an idea. You want me to expand on that. You want me to focus on a player, a certain aspect of the team that you don't think gets enough coverage. It can be fun topics. It can be non-football stuff even. Whatever it is. The first week of the month, we collect the ideas. We need at least 8. I think we're up to 3 or 4 right now. And then we put them together bracket style and we break it down week by week until we get a winner at the end of the month. If you want to be involved in that, that's done through our Discord, which is part of your membership over there. Head on over there and check that out. All the other ways you can support me as an independent full-time content creator, all detailed, listed, and linked down below in the description. And this QR code right over my shoulder allows you as well to just buy me a coffee or a beer if you'd like. All right, let's get into this. First of all, just a quick update now that Monday night is in the rear view. The Cardinals beat the Cowboys, their best win of the year. I think it goes without saying. Really good news for the Cardinals. Walter Nolan made his debut, their first-round draft pick, and was outstanding. And Will Johnson, also their excellent young rookie corner out of Michigan who's had some injury issues throughout the year. He was out there again last night as well. So they're going to be a much healthier team than the one that we faced in week 4 on Thursday Night Football, and healthier at the quarterback position too, because they've decided to roll with Jacoby Brissett, making that decision before the Monday night game, really, and then making it official today as they place Kyler Murray on injured reserve, which what is supposedly a foot injury. Have to wonder if they tried to trade him yesterday. I think the Kyler Murray era in Arizona is over. Jacoby Brissett, a much more efficient quarterback, and so that offense, I think, is going to be one we're going to have to take a lot more seriously. I think that defense is better put together than it was in week 4 as well, but we'll look a little harder at that. Tomorrow, my old friend Walter Mitchell will be joining me, as he usually does, to break down the Cardinals and where they sit, and we'll do a proper preview of that game heading into tomorrow. All right, so this is what things look like currently in the division. Seahawks at 6-2, of course, tied with the Rams. 49ers at 6-3 now, and the Cardinals at 3-5. You look at these point differentials, pretty interesting. The Cardinals picked up 10 points last night on their differential. So they actually have a better point differential than the 49ers, even though, they sit at 3-5 versus 6-3. Just shows you how thin the margin can be in this league, especially this year. And as we get deeper into the season, point differential is more indicative, more representative of separating the good teams from the bad. Of course, the Rams and the Seahawks among the top 5 or 6 in the league, with the Rams at plus 82 and the Seahawks at plus 81. So this is what I did. This is just kind of a thumbnail glance at the Seahawks' current salary cap situation. And what got me thinking about this is the idea that they traded a 4th and a 5th round pick for Rashid Shaheed. And the more that I read the analysis of it and everything else, my knee-jerk reaction in the moment was I thought a 4 and a 5 was a lot to give up for a rental player, because I had been maintaining that investing in another wide receiver at this point when you're going to have to pay JSN in a year might not make a lot of sense. I have changed my mind on that. And if you watched my reaction show yesterday, I am as excited about the Shaheed move as is possible, but also because the financial aspect of it, you'll see here in a minute, not a big deal. Corbin Smith was the first to report that they do intend to try to sign him long-term. That's kind of John Schneider's MO. He's not afraid. He doesn't shy away from acquiring rentals at the deadline. The last 2 years, he's done that with Ernest Jones and Leonard Williams. And guess what? Was able to convince both of them to sign here long-term. The hope is that you get him in the building, familiarity with Clint Kubiak and John Benton and this offensive staff, a good role in an offense and a great culture that they can get him locked up. And we'll talk about some parameters. Did a little work today on some possible comps for free agent contracts coming up also. But that's what got me thinking about this is, could it work? Would it work? Oh, yeah. Yeah. So right now, according to Over the Cap, which is where I get all my numbers, the projected cap space is $79 million. Now that's going to go down a little bit because I don't believe it accounts for all of the yet to be earned incentives. And then there's some playtime incentives for young players on their rookie contracts that when their performance on the field exceeds sort of their salary slot, they get bonused on that. Reek Wolin has made some nice money the last couple of years, for example, when it comes to that. So some of that will come off of there as well. But I did some playing around with the cap calculator and Over the Cap and came up with I believe it's a conservative figure of about $100 million that they can get to by the time free agency starts next year. And let me just say right now, they can get to more than that if they want to be much more aggressive. But I think the goal going into next year is going to be to keep the core mostly intact. And that includes some of the veterans that could easily be released to clear even more cap space, but I think they're going to want to keep those guys around. Guys like Cooper Kupp, DeMarcus Lawrence. We're the 3rd youngest roster in the league right now. I think they're going to want to try and balance that out with veterans who've seen the impact those guys have had on the roster this year. Now, the key extension candidates, of course, Charles Cross and Derek Hall. Kobe Bryant as well. I don't know why I didn't list him. Oh, because I put him down below as key internal, because he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. So Charles Cross will be entering into the 5th and final year of his rookie contract. Derek Hall will be entering into the 4th and final year of his contract. That's when the Seahawks do extensions, is before your final year. Now, let me take a moment here to say, phew. I don't know if I did that sound effect very well, but imagine me wiping my brow. All the talk last offseason was about all the good young players that were eligible for extensions heading into 2025. Thank goodness we didn't give any of those players big extensions. And I feel like this is the second time I've said this in 2 days. I don't usually pat myself on the back, but I'm going to in this case because I am wrong, probably more often than I'm right. But I was saying all offseason, don't extend Kenneth Walker, don't extend Reek Woolen, don't extend Boye Mafe. There are a plethora of reasons that it didn't make sense to do that with any of those players. I understand the philosophy of pay players early if you can, because it helps you get ahead of the market. You end up paying more if you wait because other players get extended as well, and it raises the top end of the AAV in their position group. We've seen the Lions and Eagles, two teams in particular, that are very aggressive at locking up their young players, even when there's 2 and sometimes 3 years left on their deals. The Seahawks don't do that. It's a Paul Allen thing. It has remained with Jody Allen, and John Schneider has stuck to it religiously. Cam Chancellor tried to challenge the status quo when it came to that, and ended up having to back down after 2 weeks of his holdout and return to the fold as well. So that's just the way they operate. And now that we're 8 games into the season, do you think they're going to hand out big free agent contracts now to Boye Mafe, Reek Woolen, or Kenneth Walker next year? No. And so it's kind of a beautiful thing in a sense, because you see how good this roster is without them contributing at a star level. And yet they're helping us win games right now, but we're not tied to them financially long term. And yet I think we can all agree, if you removed all 3 of those players from the roster right now, if all 3 of them got hurt in practice today, like, this team would still be pretty damn good. I don't know that they would take a major step back. So that just frees up so much more financial flexibility moving forward. You're going to see what it looks like. And that's, of course, in addition to the big moves they made last March. Trading Geno Smith and DK Metcalf helped set the stage for this and sort of clear the canvas, if you will, financially. So those 2 guys are extension candidates. Restructure candidates, and this is somewhat how I came up with that extra $21 million to get to $100 million. But these are contracts that have high base salaries and low guarantees, which makes it very, very easy to convert salary to bonus and clear up cap space. Now, when you do that, you do kick the can down the road a little bit. You move some of that prorated money down either into years remaining currently on their contract, or you can add void years to offset that. And I did that with Sam Darnold, Leonard Williams, Uchenna Nwosu, Cooper Kupp, DeMarcus Lawrence, but not nearly as aggressively as I could have. I was very, very conservative in how I did that. I think even with Sam Darnold, I only cleared $6 million from his deal. You can go much, much deeper than that. The beauty of Darnold's deal is we already know he's going to be here far longer than 3 years, the 3 years currently represented on his deal. There is no question he's going to sign another contract in Seattle, probably a much longer and much more lucrative one. And so you could get more aggressive with his deal this year if you want to and kick it into 2027 and beyond, because you're just going to tear that up and fold that into a new deal when you extend him in 27 anyway. See what I'm saying? Leonard Williams, very, very similar. He's only got 1 year left on his deal. They might I could have moved him up into the extension candidates bracket, because they're absolutely not going to want to walk away from Leonard Williams after 2026. He looks like he's got 3 or 4 good years left in him. And so I think we're talking about an extension for Leonard Williams this offseason as well. So, I wrestled with moving him up into that other category, but that would lower his 26 cap hit. Uchenna Nwosu just has the 1 year left on his deal. It's a bigger cap hit because he took a salary cut in 2025. But he sure looks pretty good, doesn't he? He looks like pre-injury Uchenna Nwosu, as good, if not better than that guy, because his scheme fits him so well that I think they're extending him this offseason too. Maybe they just add 2 more years on. He's still just 28 years old. That makes a lot of sense, and that will lower his cap hit as well. Cooper Kupp, you can get out of the deal after this year. Let's say you do re-sign Rashid Shaheed and you think, hey, we're going to go with the young guys. You could, and it's one of those deals where there's some dead cap money And then, and let's see, I've got it here. It would be $8 million dead, but a $9.5 million savings next year. So if you felt like you really needed that money, you could just move on from Cooper Kupp. I think they want to keep him around at least one more year, especially with how young this wide receiver room is, even if they re-sign Rashid Shaheed. And then I think that would probably be it for Kupp. But I just think his value in the running game and just his impact on this roster, and he might want to finish his career here. He might be willing to take a pay cut next year, add a couple void years himself. So we'll see what happens there. DeMarcus Lawrence obviously still has a lot left in the tank. I don't expect him to go anywhere. He's got 2 years left on his deal, but his cap hit is 11.3 right now. His base salary is 8.1. You could move on for a $4.2 million dead cap hit and a $7 million savings. But again, I think they're going to want to keep him around, and you will be able to adjust that deal and lower that cap hit also. And then our key internal free agents, and there's quite a few, but I've got Shaheed, Kobe Bryant, Josh Jobe, and then more. And when I say more, there's a lot of guys that are like Derek Young, Darian Kendrick, Ty Okada, Drake Thomas, George Halani, Brandon Peely, Chris Stoll, the long snapper. Now, Halani hasn't played much, but he might figure much more heavily into the running back solution next year if and when they move on from Kenneth Walker. Okada, Halani are exclusive rights free agents. Drake Thomas, Brandon Peely, and Chris Stoll are restricted free agents. And so you control that somewhat. They can't just go out into the market unless you decline to tender them. But Darian Kendrick, I think they're going to want to keep around. They really like what they've seen so far. He just hasn't gotten a lot of snaps because the cornerback room is pretty stocked when it's healthy. We'll see what happens this week with Josh Jobe in the concussion protocol. But he fits Mike McDonald's MO and his preference. He's a much more physical corner. He can play inside now, he's proven, and outside. And up until this year, he'd only played a couple of snaps inside. He's primarily played outside. Played really well for the Rams before his ACL injury. So, and there's some other guys that are in this category, but those are all guys that are inexpensive to re-sign, and you really control them. Derek Young would be an unrestricted free agent, but he's not a guy that's going to command a big contract. So you can probably, if he wants to stay here, bring him back again. And I think Kendrick fits into that bucket as well. And then I did some work this morning on some potential contract projections. Now, these obviously have a wide range of potential accuracy. And some of this work was done manually, just kind of looking at players of similar age, similar accomplishment, and then just looking at their positional value and what the contracts in each of their positions look like currently. And then also kind of ran it through AI a little bit to get some comps out there and see if I was missing anything. And all of these players fit into a similar bucket for me in that they're, hang on one second here. They're good, solid players, but they fall short of being superstars. And even on the open market, don't think they would get paid as superstars. Now, Charles Cross may be the exception to that because good left tackles are hard to find, and even a middle of the pack left tackle is going to get paid on the open market. So Cross would probably make more by being an unrestricted free agent, but I think they're going to extend him. He wants to stay here, and I think they're going to get it done. And so I came up with a projected extension. Now, the Seahawks usually like to only go 3 years on their free agent extensions, but for premium positions, left tackle, they might want to go farther. And that would allow him to spread out the cap hit as well. And so came up with a 5-year, $120 million extension, an average annual value of about $24 million, kind of puts him in line with some other recent contracts of players about his age that are really good, full-time starters, but not all pro level. So I think that's pretty reasonable. Keeps his cap hit, would lower. This, in his case, it likely wouldn't lower his cap hit much in 2026. In fact, it might bump it up a little bit. But as you can see, they can afford to do that. Josh Jobe came up with a projection of about 3 years, $27 million, with $15 million guaranteed and $9 million average annual value. His cap hits would be somewhere in the range of 6 the first year, 9, and then 10.5 or 11. And then Kobe Bryant came up with 3 years, $39 million with 22 guaranteed, cap hits of 8, 12, and 14. And Rashid Shaheed, I was surprised by this because sometimes wide receivers in the open market can get overpaid. But when you look at other players of similar statistical accomplishments, similar age, similar play styles, similar experience, puts him at 3 years, $33 million with about 18 to 20 million guaranteed. So an average annual value of about 11 million with about a $6 million cap in 2026 up front. Now, each of those contracts could be a little bit more, but there's still so much flexibility that even after you subtract all of that out, you take care of all your own players. The Seahawks could very well end up with somewhere between $40 and $60 million to spend on the open market next year. Now, that being said, a quick scan of the projected free agents for 2026, not great, right? It was looking like a fantastic potential edge class, but then TJ Watt and Micah Parsons, all those guys signed extensions. They all got paid, except for Trey Hendrickson. Could he be a possibility? One of the things I heard yesterday, and the people that I talked to leading up to the trade deadline, was that all those rumors, and a lot of them have been confirmed today, including by Greg Bell, all those rumors about doggedly pursuing Max Crosby, and I've been told that those talks went up until less than a half an hour away from the deadline yesterday. They checked in on Myles Garrett. They checked in on Bradley Chubb. My understanding, what I'm being told, is that was driven by Mike McDonald. It's easy for us to step back and look and say, hey, he's been really successful as a defensive play caller. One of the most successful in the league over the last 4 years. And he's done it without elite edge rushers. He's done it with reclamation projects in Baltimore. He's done it with young rotation and a couple of key veterans mixed in here in Seattle. But apparently, he wants what he's never had. He wants a guy that can be a quote-unquote closer. And so Trey Hendrickson was in consideration. It just sounds like from all of the reporting done yesterday and even in the months leading up to it that the Bengals just were not willing to part with Hendrickson, I guess over pride, as a matter of principle. They were asking for a first-round pick, and apparently there were teams that even checked in on him and they were told, okay, we'll take a second. And they thought that was too high for a 31-year-old rental. And a team that looks like they're going nowhere this year and decided to keep him instead. Really curious decision by the Bengals, but that's kind of part and parcel to how they operate and have for a long time. So he'll be a free agent at the age of 32. He's not a dominant run defender, but he's good enough. Some people have said when there was all the talk about potentially trading for him before the season started, there's a lot of talk among fans about how he's terrible against the run. He won't fit him. He's okay. He's good enough that his elite pass rushing skills and his ability to just beat tackles one-on-one is something we don't really have right now. And it sounds like it's something McDonald wants. So he could be a guy that's in play. Cornerback is going to be a need next year. Free agent market doesn't look great for that. I think we can all agree that they're going to upgrade right guard next year, but free agent market doesn't look great for that. Wyatt Teller, Joel Bitonio. The sense seems to be that Bitonio is going to retire. And, Greg Bell reported as recently as 2 weeks ago that Teller's a no from the Seahawks, not just because of the Nwosu thing, but just generally they think he's a dirty player and doesn't really fit in that locker room. That's an organizational thought, is what I'm told. Kevin Zeitler doesn't want to play in the Pacific Northwest. So guard is not a great free agent class. There might be some guys, sort of under the radar guys that just are blocked and don't have a chance to start, that have a lot of upside that the team might be high on, they might bring in. But I'm also told that they really, and we've known this since before the draft, they love Bryce Cabledew, and they see him as a potential starting guard in the future. The athletic ability is off the charts. Will he be ready to push for that job by next year? Will it be that simple that their answer is in-house? We'll see, but there's not a lot. There's no Joe Toonies or Trey Smiths. There's none of those guys on the market this year. And then defensive tackle, kind of the same story. A lot of the older players that continue to bounce around and play on short-term deals. Christian Wilkins is interesting. He's a mystery. He's still out there. I think he turns 30 next year, but before his injury and what happened with the Raiders, he was an elite defensive tackle, got paid accordingly in free agency. But with he's got the grievance right now that needs to be settled there. It has been crickets coming out of the Christian Wilkins camp. Maybe that foot never gets right, but if it does and he settles his grievance and he's out there, I have to think that the Seahawks, with their financial flexibility and with what I think is a need to add another interior defensive tackle, I think they'll at least kick the tires on Wilkins, don't you? But yeah, they can do all of it. That's what I'm here to tell you. And part of this, the genesis of this idea started a few days ago as we led up to the trade deadline, having a lot of discussion, a lot of engagement with a lot of you about different ideas. And a lot of the fan base is very quick to shoot down certain aggressive ideas, Max Crosby being one of them, because can't afford it. Had a guy tell me today, well, if they had made that move, they would have needed to win the Super Bowl this year because you couldn't have afforded him next year. 100%. They could afford him next year. I think his cap hit is like $33 million, something like that. I may be off. I may be thinking about the Raiders cap number. It would be lower than that because you would get a discount for the prorated signing bonus that goes to the original team, not the acquiring team. But they can absolutely, which is why I think I said it yesterday and I'll say it again. When John Schneider sets his sights on a player, he typically doesn't ever give up. Marshawn Lynch, he pursued for over a year, reportedly. Leonard Williams, he admitted after they acquired him, he had pursued several times over the previous 2 seasons. Ernest Jones, they had tried to acquire in the offseason, but the Rams didn't want to deal within the division. When he wants his guy, he tries to get him. And clearly, Max Crosby is a guy that he and Mike McDonald absolutely love. Those talks that were reported when DK and Geno were traded, that they originally talked to the Raiders about Crosby and maybe sending both of them down there, that report was kind of dismissed as like a curiosity, but there was a lot more to it from what I understand. And they went pretty deep down that road before deciding it didn't work. I guess the issue yesterday was, and I know I'm not the only one saying this, but there's disagreement within the Raiders brain trust on where they are, who they are, and which direction to go. And I've been given some indication that even though he doesn't hold contractual roster control like he did here in Seattle, he doesn't have contractual final say, that Pete Carroll was one of the guys that fought for not trading Crosby. Now, some of that might be because Pete, this is his mindset, I can get this thing turned around. Stick with me. We're going to fix this, and I need Max Crosby to do it. But you also have to wonder if he just doesn't want to give the Seahawks another star because they made the Geno trade. And they've now watched Geno struggle and Sam Darnold light the world on fire when we all thought, before Geno asked for a trade, we all thought Darnold would end up with the Raiders, right? There was the report from 3-4 years ago when they were thinking about trading Russ the first time, and Jay Glazer reported that Carroll loved Darnold. You know, there's the USC connection, even though they obviously weren't there at the same time. And that's where he would pivot to. He was still with the Jets at that time. That's where he would pivot to if they were to trade Russell. And, of course, that didn't materialize until the next year. So we all thought Darnold was going to end up there, and apparently Brady was the one that put the kibosh on that, wanted to go with Geno. Interestingly enough. But you have to wonder if that was part of it too. Like, look, I'm not just going to hand the Seahawks a Super Bowl. So I fully expect John Schneider to engage again with the Raiders in the offseason. And if they move on from Pete and go with, say, a young coach and launch a full rebuild, maybe they even move on from Geno, then I think Crosby has, why am I having trouble with my S's? Crosby has to make sense as a trade piece if you're going to rebuild and not someone to keep on your roster when you're not going to win. And in that case too, if they go that road, if they indicate like right after the season ends, if they move on from Pete, they go hire a young guy, maybe they get rid of Geno too, we're going to be talking about a Max Crosby trade request, I would say. And I think John Schneider will be front and center on that because, again, they have a young enough, good enough roster that they can afford to give up high draft picks, especially in next year's draft, which isn't viewed as good as we've seen recently. And also they can afford it financially. So if anyone tries to tell you that, nope, they can't make this move or that move, they can't keep Shaheed, they can't keep all these guys, they absolutely can. Maybe if Reek, Mafe, Walker all had blown up this year and achieved superstar status. Something else I'm going to talk about here in the next few days is we had a conversation last offseason about lack of blue chip players on the Seahawks roster. Bunch of young players we liked, but not a lot of them were bona fide blue chippers. Many of them have elevated themselves to that level this year. But if Reek and Walker and Mafe had all done that as well, to the point that the Seahawks would want to bring them back in the offseason, yeah, then we'd be sitting here talking about having to make some choices. Probably can't sign them all. But actually, given the numbers that I came up with today, they probably could have too. They just wouldn't have been able to be as aggressive to go out in free agency. But now, again, don't let anyone tell you otherwise. They can do anything they want to and be as aggressive as any team in the league going out to add another stud veteran, either through trade or free agency in the offseason to put them over the top. Maybe get that closer Mike McDonald wants. Thanks for watching. Follow me on Twitter at Seahawks Forever. Check out that Patreon again at nwforever.com. Get in on the Discord and vote for what I do for my December viewer's choice video. I guess we'll just have to call it that. Get in on that action, but also it's all of the content that I produce all under one roof, including Mariner stuff. And the videos there won't have the YouTube inserted ads in them. So saves you time and saves you money. Really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching, you guys. I'll be back again tomorrow to break down the Cardinals matchup with Walter Mitchell. Until then, forever and always, go Hawks.